Hey there YouTube. So in this video I wanted to cover IRS Form 1128. This is an application to adopt, change, or retain a tax year. Now most U.S. companies, when they're formed, they operate on a calendar year basis. That's the default tax year for an entity. So in this example we have Fake Consulting Company Inc. This is a Delaware C Corp. When it was first formed, the default tax year is going to be a December 31 year end, right? So December 31 is the final day of the tax year, and then the company files its Form 1120 before April 15th, right? Individuals run on a calendar year basis too, and so do C Corps by default. So in this example, what this company wants to do is they want to change it, right? So they want to change it instead to a June 30 year end. Now, why do a lot of companies do that, right? They have June 30 year ends or they have March 31 year ends. A lot of companies do that for business reasons because they wanted to match their financial reporting year. So a lot of companies, for example, in the retail space, they might use a January year end because they're trying to capture all the returns, from Christmas shopping and the holiday sale rush and things like that. In this example, they just want to use a June year end because the company is actually owned by people in Australia. And Australia uses a June 30 year end, right? So they want to change it so that it matches with what they're familiar with. So how do they do that? Well, they could do so by filing Form 1128. And the nice thing for C corporations is generally a C corporation could just file this form to change the year end, and it's an automatic change request. So what that means is you file this, it automatically is approved. The IRS doesn't really have to look at it and assess whether or not you're allowed to change. So let's run through the form. There's a couple of pages here, but two of them are the only ones that are going to be relevant, so we'll go over both. So for first section of the form, part one, pretty straightforward, right? The name of the company, we have Fake Consulting Company Inc. You put down the EIN of the company, where the company's been filing its tax returns, and put down some contact numbers for the business as well. Okay, so in box one here, check the appropriate boxes to indicate the type of applicant. What you're doing here is you're looking for what kind of tax return does this company file, right? So this is a Delaware corporation. It's a domestic corp, right? So it's filing a Form 1120. If they filed a S Corp election, then it's still a domestic corporation, but it would be more specifically an S Corp. So just pick whichever one is most appropriate for your entity type. In this example, again, we're using a domestic corporation example because domestic corps have a lot of leeway with changing their year end, and they get the automatic change request. So check box there in section 1. 2A, approvals requested to accomplish what, right? So what we're doing is we're changing to a tax year ending June 30, 2021. So as we're filing this out right now, let's say it's January or February, right? So the year end that we're running on right now is 12/31/2020, right? So this is the last date that the tax year is going to end until we do the change request, right? So we're going to file a Form 1120 for the full year of 2020, all right? So we're going to get that out before April 15th, and then we're going to switch the year end to June 30, 2021. Okay, so then in box 2C down here, they're asking if we're changing the year, the first return or short period return is filed for what period? So the first short period return we're going to be filing is for the period Jan 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2021. Okay, so mechanically that's what's going to happen here. We'll file a Form 1120 like we normally would for the 2020 tax year, but then for the Jan 1 to June 30 period, we're going to file another Form 1120, but it's only going to cover these 6 months. And so that'll get us on track to start filing by June 30th for full years every year thereafter. So just to kind of restate that so it's clear, this is the last year. It's going to be a calendar year end. So I'm going to do a Form 1120 for the full 2020 tax year. I'm going to have to get that out before April 15th, 2021. And then after we pass this date, so let's say it's August 2021. In August 2021, I'm going to be filing a Form 1120 to cover just these 6 months, right? And then after that's filed, a year later, I'll be doing the same thing, but it'll cover the full year, right? Because now our 12-month period is running from July 1 to June 30th of every year, okay? Question 3 is the applicant's present tax year is stated in 2B above, also its current financial reporting year. So right now, yes, right? Our financial reporting year just is in line with this. We'll consider changing it once we get this change request approved, okay? So number 4, indicate the overall accounting method. Generally, companies are going to be cash or accrual method. In this case, we're a cash method taxpayer, so we check that box. And then in box 5, you just want to give a brief description as to what type of business you're conducting. So this consulting company provides marketing consulting services to e-commerce brands, right? So e-commerce businesses. And then in the signature block down here, an officer for the company should sign and date this, and then put the name and title of the officer as well. And obviously, if you're having a paid preparer do this, the paid preparer information will be there separately. Okay, so then the next part we've got to do, part 2, again, this is an automatic approval request. So there are several rev procs that cover what can get automatic approval and what needs actual special permission from the IRS to change the year. In this case, we have a regular domestic corp, so it's not an S corp and it's not a PSC. So the provisions for automatic change requests are outlined in Rev Proc 2006-45. So on this very top line here, where it asks us to identify the procedure under which automatic approval request is filed, we're entering Rev Proc 2006-45. Important to enter that there, and obviously they give you a little help here, right? They say in Section A which one you're going to be using anyway. So the answer questions 1, 2, and 3 is the applicant a corp, is requesting a change, and it's allowed to use the automatic approval rules, right? So if you go into Rev Proc 2006-45, I've got it up here. This is the Rev Proc that specifically addresses change in tax years for C Corps, right? Okay, so in Section 4, they have the scope of how you can change, right? So basically, every corporation is allowed for the automatic change unless you meet one of these exceptions. So if you own a pass-through entity or a CFC, if you're a personal service corp, if you had an S election, then you might find yourself that you're in the non-automatic change request, and so it won't be permitted. But in this case, we do qualify for an automatic change. So answer yes for that one. Question 2, does the corporation intend to elect to be an S corp? Nope, right? We're keeping the C corp treatment. And then is the applicant a corporation requesting a concurrent change for a CFC, FSC, or DISC? No, right? So that would apply if you had if you were doing a change request for this company and then you owned, let's say the company owned a foreign subsidiary that was a CFC, and you wanted to change that tax year also. That might apply, but in this case, it doesn't. And so because it doesn't, we can just answer no. And then Section B and these other sections don't apply, right? Because we're not doing a change request for a partnership or S Corp or PSC. We're not an individual, obviously, and we're not a tax-exempt org. So those can all be blank. And then Part 3, the ruling request. This section is only completed if you did not qualify for the automatic change, right? So if you don't qualify for the automatic change and you need a ruling, then you've got to complete this section of the form. But we don't have to do that because, again, we qualify for the automatic exchange. So we can leave the rest of these sections blank. So very straightforward. We're just doing Section A. And then make sure we complete all the fields here on the first page. And then that's it. And go ahead and print this, sign it, mail it to the appropriate address in the form instructions. And then you should be good to go. And then just remember to start doing your tax returns using the updated periods, and then you should be all set. So that covers it for the 1128. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please leave me a comment below, and happy to answer those.